welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and this is the Astral Library. And I don't know what it is with California weather, but it's gray and cloudy yet again. You know, for a sunshine state, you'd think we'd have more sun, but no, not at all. June gloom has started early because it was starting in May and it is in fact June right now, but I rest my case. It started early and it's perpetuated till now. And so if the lighting changes, I apologize. We're gonna do our best. But I have a fun little video for you guys today. We're gonna be talking about the 10 most popular books that I will not be reading for a variety of reasons. Mainly just starting with, they don't appeal to me. And this is not an attack on you if you've read and enjoyed these books. I love that for you. I wish you all the best. I wish you the 5 stars. But for me, I just don't ever see myself picking these books up because I know I will not enjoy them. Not attacking you. I hope you love these books. In fact, I hope you take this as a list for books you should go and try yourself to see if they're for you and if our reading tastes align. But these are the 10 books I will not be reading here on my channel. So I have a handy dandy list on my phone right here, and we're just gonna go down one by one. I'm gonna tell you what the book is. I'm gonna tell you a little bit of why it's just not for me. The first one is a kicker, because I've read the rest of this series, but I'm not gonna read this one book. And that is A Court of Silver and Flame by Sarah J. Maas. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses and the subsequent series pretty much as they were coming out. I think I read A Court of Thorns and Roses a year after it was published because a friend ended up giving it to me and I fell in love with the series. I devoured it. I remember having to wait for A Court of Mist and Fury. I remember having to wait for A Court of Wings and Ruin, which that wait was horrendous. Let me tell you, it was horrendous. I wanted it so bad. And then the series was done. A Court of Wings and Ruin came out and that was the end of the series. SJM said, oh, I'm gonna publish a little short story collection. I was like, cool, I don't know if I'll read it. And then I end up not reading it, but I was done. I had checked out of this series and every character in it. And then comes along A Court of Silver and Flame following Nesta. Now, much like most of the people at the beginning of the series, I didn't like Nesta. I thought she was a bitch. And even though I grew to like her a little bit more towards the series conclusion, I was never the biggest fan, and I just don't care to continue with the series for a multitude of reasons, one of which I was already satisfied with this being the end of the series. I didn't necessarily want any more. I didn't really care to read anymore in this world. I was just done. It was good. It was great. And then to follow a character that I didn't really care about and I had no interest in learning more about, another reason why I just didn't want to pick it up. Now, I know, I can hear some of your voices, but Emily, Nessa turns out to be such a great character. She's amazing. This is a great book. The sex is great. I hear all that. I hear that A Court of Silver Flame is a great book, but it's not a book I'm interested in. Also in that Sarah J. Maas has not written a book I like since 2020 when she came out with A House of Earth and Blood. Okay, that was the last Sarah J. Maas book I loved. And I was a Sarah J. Maas stan. I loved Throne of Glass. I loved the A Court of series. And I loved House of Earth and Blood. But everything after has been just awful. I don't know, something feels like it's missing in her writing that used to really bring me joy and really capture me into the story. And it's just been not fun. And A Court of Wings and Ruin did come out after House of Earth and Blood. So it's just another point. So that's the first book. The second book we have, well, technically isn't a book. It's an author. So like fill in your most hated or your most loved book by this author here, I guess. And that is anything by Colleen Hoover. The reason I'm not reading Colleen Hoover is, one, I just hear a lot of the relationships she promotes is problematic, and not in the sense of like, oh, she's depicting a toxic relationship, but she kind of glorifies it in a certain way that it romanticizes it. I've heard that it's a lot of like abusive relationships and just like general really toxic romantic relationships, and I'm not here for it. I love, don't get me wrong, I love a good toxic relationship and I love a good toxic character. They can be a lot of fun to read about, but I also want an author to make sure that they are portraying that in a way that is showcasing it as toxic and not trying to, well, but really you can fix him. I'm not into that mentality. Sometimes you just need to let him go, babes. You just need to let him go. He can be fixed by therapy. It is not your job to do so. I've also just heard that Colleen Hoover's writing is not the greatest and that it can be really sloppy at times. And I read bad writing all the time, right? Okay, I love a good bad fan fiction every now and again, but that's fan fiction. When you are publishing a book and your writing comes across as sloppy, something went wrong in the process. Whether that be the publishers, whether that be the editors, whether that be Colleen Hoover herself, I don't know, but it should not be happening. A book has to go through many, 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 many hands before it can reach the market, or at least it should. So on top of romanticizing these toxic relationships and having kind of sloppy writing, Colleen Hoover's just not for me, babes. Not in the slightest. And that's okay. Especially because some of the people in my life who I share really common reading tastes with and like we enjoy the same books have read Colleen Hoover and be like, Emily, this is awful. Like nothing is good. I did not enjoy myself whatsoever. Say less. I don't need to pick her up. I don't have her on my shelves. I have no plans of putting her on my shelves. And the only ever way I will read Colleen Hoover is if I'm forced to, for whatever reason. While we're on kind of like the topic of series, another series I'm not going to read, even though I've read the first book, is the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. This is just because I don't think Holly Black's writing is for me. I've read The Cruel Prince and I've read her adult series, The Book of Night. And in both cases, I found the story to be interesting, but I have found the writing to really turn me off. I don't know necessarily what it is, if it's just like the dryness of her writing or the way she describes things isn't appealing to me, or if it's just like the character she gives off or the character she chooses to like drive the story forward. I don't know. But I just know every time I've read a Holly Black book, I've not had fun. And I think the most I was like, okay. So I read The Cruel Prince, I thought it was okay, and I had no desire to continue on with the series. Even though I'm pretty sure The Cruel Prince ends in a cliffhanger, I didn't care. I didn't want to know anything else that happened. Was not even interested in looking at like Wikipedia or like the fan wikis for that series, because I don't care. Whatever happened, happened. These characters lived an independent life outside of me, and that was totally okay. I do remember reading A Book of Night and hating it the entire way. That book was like 300 pages and it felt like the longest 300 pages of my life, okay? And I got to the end of it and I wanted to know more of the story, but I didn't want to read more of the story. And so I was left with this, do I order the next book knowing I'm not going to enjoy reading it, but still wanting to know what happened? And I haven't found the answer to that question. I don't think the second book is out. Holly Black's just one of those big name authors that I tend to hear about her releases even though I'm like not actively looking for them. And that's great because I still don't know what I'm gonna do because I want to know what happens, but I really, really don't want to read it. Honestly, if it has come out, or if any of you are like big Holly Black fans, if you want to make like a spoiler vlog rating that book, I will be your first viewer, okay? I want to know what happened so bad. I don't want to read it. But it's something about Holly Black's writing just not for me. It just doesn't click, doesn't appeal to me, and we're just gonna have to live that life. And this is the last like entire series I have. And it's another series I've actually read the first book of, and that is the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. I hated Caraval. I could not stand that book. It was so bad. And I think 99% of it was just the amount of purple prose in the writing. It's not a book that just like vibes. It's a book that has a plot. But having to read these like overly long descriptives or overly floral language to like understand what is going on just made it go so slow, which is funny because I think I read this book in about a day, like on a work shift, finished this book and remember getting to the end of the book and hating it. I have a visceral reaction. I could not tell you anything else that happened in that book. I could not tell you what the main character's name was. I can only maybe give you a general description of the premise of the book that involves some sort of like carnival that came around that you're playing a game to kind of win a wish. And then we have two sisters involved. Other than that, I don't know. I don't remember anything because I blocked it out of my memory because I hated it so much. I hear that the series gets better after the first book. I do. I'm not doing it. I can't. It's been too long since I've read the first book, which means I would have to reread the first book, and I can't put myself through that again. I can't. I have thought about giving Stephanie Garber another chance and reading her other series, which I think is Once Upon a Broken Heart. I've heard that series is better than Caraval. I think it's connected in some way, but I'm willing to jump right in and just like not and figure it out and not have to read Caraval and miss some of the like crossovers or like inside jokes that are happening. I'm okay with that. So those are the only like full series I have on my list. Span of authors. So let's get back into some of the actual books. The next book I have is another beloved and popular book here on BookTube and on Book Talk and on Bookstagram and everywhere essentially. Everyone seems to love this book and want to read it but me. And that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I know. I can hear you screaming at me, Emily, you have to read it. It's so good. It's so much fun. Everything I've heard about Fourth Wing, everything, is that the entire book sucks until the ending. And then the ending grips you in and makes you want to read the next book. I don't want to slog through a whole book only to be like got towards the end of the book. That's stupid. It's stupid, okay? I don't want to do it. I don't think that's a good way to write. And I don't think that's a great way to draw a reader in. I don't want to do all that effort only to get one small little bit of satisfaction in it, okay? And on top of that, the premise of Fourth Wing does not sound like anything unique. It sounds like a story I've read before over and over and over again. And to top it all off with a main character that no one seems to like. I've heard multiple people say, I actively would root to see the main character go down if it wasn't for her going down, meaning everyone else goes down. Why do you read a book like that? Why do you read a book with a character you don't want to root for? I don't get it. Especially because how I consume a lot of media and how I enjoy a lot of books and stories in general is I really have to connect with the main character on some level. Either I really enjoy their banter, I enjoy their kind of outlook on life, I enjoy their personality, something about their character I have to vibe with in order to want to read the story, because the main character is how we are given the story. And if I'm hating the main character every step of the way, I'm not having a good time because I'm having to fight that character to understand and to learn the rest of the story. And that's not to say I need a character to be perfect. I love a flawed character. I love a character who I can really connect with that flaw, or I can see that flaw and see them grow from it. But I don't need a character I hate to tell me the story, because guess what? It's gonna make me not want to hear the story. It's gonna make me want to go anywhere else. I'm not about that. I'm not about slogging through a book only to be captured by the end of it and to go through the entire series with the character I don't care about. And to top it all off, I do hear the writing is also kind of wonky at times. I think there was a whole issue where Iron Flame, the second book, came out and there's all these mistakes in it, just all these issues, the story was rushed. There's and I've heard that Rebecca Yarros is using Celtic names and pronouncing them wrong and using them wrong. I don't want to get involved in that, honestly. I'm okay. Every author has their problems, and there's just a certain line where you gotta decide, is this a problem I want to contend with? Is it a problem I want to have to reconcile with, or am I just gonna leave it alone? And you know what? I'm gonna leave it alone. And I'm gonna stay outside in my lonely bubble, not reading and talking about Fourth Wing. Okay, the next book is a book I honestly don't know why people read, because it just sounds like a bad time, and that is A Little Life by, I apologize if I get this wrong, Hanya Nangi-Hara. From what I understand, A Little Life is a long book, 800 pages book of nothing but pure pain. Nothing good happens. Doesn't even have a happy ending. A book of sorrow and pain and devastation and tears, and everyone who reads it cries buckets upon buckets. And I love me a good cry every now and again. Don't get me wrong. I love a good cry. I think it's therapeutic and fun. But a whole book of tears? A whole book where nothing happy happens? A whole book of trauma and childhood essay and adult essay and just essay in general? That's what you guys want to read? That's what you want to invest your time in? And it's a lot of time. It's a thick book. Like I said, 800 pages. No! No! No. Why? Why would I want to do that? I read a lot of fucked up shit because of my major and because of like my area and concentration for literature. I have to read so many things talking about slavery and just the horrors of it. Why would I want my free time to then read about more horrors for just unhappy? Not even like learning to grow from this, learning to escape and to live a happy life, just to end in sorrow. I can't do it. I applaud anyone who can. I applaud anyone who has used that book to maybe heal from some of their own trauma, but I can't do it. On a different note, a book that I won't read because I find it too difficult in a different sense is A House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. This is a book that is very popular and has like been popular for a few years now, and like it keeps popping up and people talk about how amazing the book is. If I remember correctly, I mixed this up with another one. They're both kind of same, whereas I think House of Leaves is like a book within a book, or it is a book that has like been annotating and you have to like decipher it, what's going on. It sounds like a lot of work, to be honest. Like I've heard a lot of people who start this book and like struggle to read it for like 2-3 years because of just how much effort it takes to get through it and to get the story. And that's cool. As a concept, stellar, great. In practice of trying to read it, no. I don't want to have to put in so much effort to read a book for fun because, like I've said many times, I use reading as an escape from like my day-to-day life, my work, and just like my scholarship. My reading time that I do on this channel is for fun. All the books I read are so different from what I'm studying and from what I'm doing for work by design because I need that break and that separation. To grab a book for fun that is going to feel like work because the amount of effort I'm gonna have to be putting it into, it feels like I'm reading a theoretical piece for school, and I don't need it. Survive with not knowing the story. I'll admit it, I'm a bit of a lazy reader. I don't want to put that much effort into it. I want to be able to pick up a book and go. And again, I applaud you if you do it and you enjoy it and you want challenges like that. I would have to have nothing else going in my life where I can just dedicate my time to that book, because otherwise I will never want to pick it up in my free time because it's not going to feel like free time. It's going to feel like work. The next book I have on here is also a book that I don't want to get into because I think it's just going to be a lot of work, and that is It by Stephen King. It's like 1,000 pages, and I've read 1,000 pages before, and you know, it takes a goddamn long time. Even when I've fully enjoyed it and want to read it, it takes so much time. So I would read only that for like a month, maybe 2, depending on how much time I had. And it's a lot of work. It's too long. I don't say that often, but it's too damn long. I don't want to do it. And this might get me crucified on some parts of the book too, but I don't really like Stephen King's writing. I don't. I know, I don't. I love his movies. I love it as a movie. I love almost every Stephen King movie that has come out. Okay. They're phenomenal stories and they're a lot of fun and great horror movies. But reading them, I've never had fun. And I've read a few Stephen King books. I know for sure I've read Rose Madder, which is the one that sticks out to me the most because I loved the story of Rose Madder and kind of like this wife who was abused and running away and trying to learn her to get a new life and to grow, and like the fear of her husband coming after her. Phenomenal. Loved it. And then it turned weird because that's what Stephen King does. He loves to throw in some sort of weird supernatural twist. I like supernatural things. Don't get me wrong. I think that's cool. I think that can really add to a story. But his always seem thrown in there in just like wild, like, oh, we're having this completely normal story, bam, now it's crazy, now it's weird, now we're diving into a mirror and there's gonna be a bull chasing you. What? It sounds like you're on drugs, which makes sense because Stephen King was on a lot of drugs as he was writing. Like, self-admittedly, he wrote some wacky shit while on a lot of wacky drugs. And that comes across. I don't enjoy that aspect of his writing. I don't enjoy his writing in general. I think a lot of it can be cut down and more concise. I'm not gonna read it because 1, it's too long. 2, I don't like Stephen King's writing. And 3, we all know what happens to that ending and it's gross and I don't want to read about it whatsoever. I'll enjoy the movie endings, okay? Where they don't get creepy and weird about it with children. This one kills me the most though because it has some of the most beautiful covers. Like, I want them on my shelves. All of Stephen King's works have some really great covers that look so good on shelves, and it makes me want to be a Stephen King girly. It really, really does. But I don't like him. I don't like his writing. And so it feels stupid to own his books purely because they look cool. Maybe I will meet a partner that loves Stephen King books and I can collect them and have them on our collective shelves so I can get those pretty spines or those pretty covers. But until that happens, I'm not gonna read them. I'm not gonna read it. I'm not gonna read anything else by Stephen King. I'm gonna content myself with what I have read and watch the movies. Last couple of ones. The next one I have is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is a book that gained a lot of fame in that really quickly, in that it was self-published and it quickly got picked up by a publisher and was traditionally published. And came out some beautiful editions, I think by Fairy Loot. I think Illumicrate did one too. A lot of people loved it. There's nothing about the story itself that turns me off when wanting to read it. It is purely the fact that it is a cozy fantasy. I am not a cozy fantasy girly. I'm not. I would love to be, but honestly God, it just kind of sounds boring to me. I want my fantasy to be adventurous, it to have a lot of political intrigue, to have a lot of like gripping tension going on where things are happening and pieces are moving. I don't want cozy in any form. I don't want a cozy mystery. I rarely like cozy games, only in like specific moods. But other than that, I don't want cozy. I don't want it in my reading. I think if I were to pick up a book like Legends and Lattes that is really just vibes heavy and nothing's happening and it's just about like the slow life of like running a cafe, I think I would be bored. I think with that mindset going into it, I would be very unfair if I were to give this book a shot. And I like I said, I know cozy fantasy, cozy genres really not for me. I want that action. I want that kind of like intricacy with the plot that I'm not going to just enjoy my time reading about everyday life, even in like a nice fantastical world. If this ever gets adapted to like a film or maybe like a mini TV series, I might read it. I think those can be fun sometimes, that like kind of feel good vibe, but I do not think I would enjoy reading it. Okay, and the last one, another beloved book here on YouTube, and that is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reads. I want to read some Taylor Jenkins Reads, okay? I have two of her books. I have the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Malibu Rising. I haven't read either of them yet, but I want to give her a shot because I hear a lot of great things about her writing. However, the book that kind of is like reigning, everyone loves, everyone talks about, is Daisy Jones and the Six. I love a good music book. I love things that involve music. I think it's so interesting because I love music. I think what killed this book for me is that someone said it is like the movie Almost Famous. I hate that movie. I hate that movie so much. I cannot stand it. And that is what everyone, and I mean everyone who has talked about this book and what this book has been advertised as sometimes, as like Almost Famous. No. I'm not gonna read a book that is similar to a movie I already don't like, even though I love a good music band story. It seems like set up for a bad time. And so even though it's beloved and everyone, so many people love this book, I can't do it. I don't even want to try it because I just think it's going to be awful. I think I might end up giving the show a watch because I think it was Hulu or Amazon did a live action adaptation of the book. I might do that because I do really enjoy when music stories actually get a chance to like have their music performed. I think it really adds to the experience and it really adds to the story itself. I might consume it that way, but I do not think I will ever read it purely because so many people have made the connection between Daisy Jones and the Six and Almost Famous. I know what I like, and if it's anything like that movie in the slightest way, I'm not gonna enjoy it. So I'm gonna save myself the hate and just put it on this list of popular books I'm not gonna read. So no one could really hate me because I haven't read it. I'm not trashing you for reading it. I'm just saying I'm not gonna read it because of my reasons. Okay, but that is all 10 popular books that I will not be reading for whatever reason. Again, this is just for fun. I hope none of you are offended. I hope that seeing your favorite book on this list didn't make you hate me or didn't make you like think I'm calling you, saying you have shit reading taste. Read what you want. Don't let anyone, me included, tell you otherwise. You can read anything you desire. And I hope they're all great reads for you. They're just not for me. And again, that's totally okay. There's no personal attack here. In fact, let me know in the comments down below, what are 10 popular books you won't be reading for whatever reason. Maybe you don't like the author, maybe you don't like the writing style, maybe you think the plot will be boring. Let me know. Even if you know that that book is one of my favorites. I love hearing reasons why you do or do not pick up any books. So please let me know in the comments down below. But otherwise, that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you had some fun with it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!